Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is Thursday 13, where we're going to cover 13 things on a list, as well as talk about general news that's been going on. Like the thing happening in Kenya. I haven't heard anyone talking about that, so I'm going to talk about it. With further ado, don't forget to subscribe so that you can get notified when we go live. And let's get into our headlines. Today on Before Coffee, Cameron caught out by hoax call with Russian impersonating ex-Ukrainian president. And we have an attempted military coup in Bolivia, and some contenders drop out of the race in Iran. The people have spoken. Why did Kenya's Ruto reject tax bill he pushed? Why did Kenya's Ruto reject tax bill he pushed? And today on Thursday 13, we review the states with the highest native population. Matthew Perry's death. Multiple people could be charged as links to the death. Those stories and more, which is National Orange Blossom Day, June 27th, 2024 on Before Coffee. Okay, that's a lot of different news, and we're covering it all here on Thursday. First, let's head out to some kind of wacky news, even though it's not Wednesday. But Cameron has been caught by a hoax call. This is on The Independent, written by Archie Mitchell from 2 hours ago. It's fresh off the press. David Cameron has been caught on video speaking to Russian imposter pretending to be the former Ukrainian president. The foreign secretary can be seen talking to someone purporting to be Petro Poroshenko, who was the president from 2014 to 2019, about labor, Donald Trump, and Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. In the casual video call published by the website Guido Fox, Lord Cameron said he does not think Britain's approach to the war in Ukraine would change under a Labour government. And in the 15-minute video call, he said the former US president, who could return to the White House after November's election, would want to back the winning side in the conflict. Mr. Poroshenko, who was defeated in 2019 by Volodymyr Zelensky, has remained a prominent figure in the country since leaving office, and a prominent puppet to Putin. He was very pro-Russian. The Foreign Office said the perpetrators behind the call are clearly Russian, adding that disinformation is a tactic straight from the Kremlin playbook. Earlier this month, the UK government made the hoax call public knowledge to stave off any attempts to manipulate video footage of the former Prime Minister from the communications. Asked by the imposter if he believes anything will change after the general election, Lord Cameron says Labour has been as enthusiastic in their support for Ukraine as the Conservatives. He said, "I don't think you'll see change. Obviously, if they win, it will be a new government. There will be some getting up to speed on some issues, but I think fundamentally, they've supported everything we've done. I think the Labour Party, if they win, will continue this approach." Asked about the engagement with former US President and current presidential candidate Mr. Trump, and also current felon, Lord Cameron says the Republican would want to back the winning side in Ukraine, but his attitude is hard to predict. He says, "I had dinner with Trump and my aim was to convince him not to block money for Ukraine, because obviously the speaker, Mike Johnson, wanted two things. He wanted to vote the money for Ukraine, but also wanted to keep his job. And I thought it was important to try to make sure that Trump backed him sufficiently to do that, which is what happened in the end. I think ultimately Trump will calculate at the time what's right for him. He should calculate what's right for the country, but you know, God forbid we ask that much of our governments out here. Hey, can you take care of the rest of us? Huh? Well, maybe you should get elected president if you want us to care about you."
Trump's running to stay out of prison, so
yeah,
that's
right.
Fine.
I think the key thing is that we can make sure that Ukraine is on the front foot and Putin is on the back foot by November. Then he will want to support the winning side, as it were, and that's what we've got to ensure. It's hard to predict exactly what his attitude will be, but that's the most important thing. Lord Cameron is only the latest high-profile politician to fall victim to a hoax. Last year, former Home Secretary Suella Braverman was duped into accepting a comedy show's Dick of the Year award while launching a small boat in her constituency. And a former Chancellor, Kwesi Kwarteng, once offered to set up a meeting between fake foreign firm and a former Prime Minister Boris Johnson during a sting interview organized by a campaign group led by donkeys. Led by donkeys! Yeah, that sounds like my party I want to vote for. Elsewhere in the video, the imposter can be heard saying that not sending Ukraine an invitation to NATO is a bad signal. In response, Lord Cameron says there's not going to be an invitation because America won't support one. So what I've said to the President, Vladimir Zelensky, is let's try and get the best language we can about NATO support for Ukraine, but let's not. We mustn't have an argument between NATO and Ukraine before the summit. Later in the video, Lord Cameron discloses a conversation he had with Kazakhstan's Foreign Secretary Murat Nurtalu during a visit to the country earlier this year. Lord Cameron says, Kazakhstan are convinced that Putin wants a slice of the north of Kazakhstan. Nurtalu said Ukrainians are dying for Kazakhstan. They are putting their lives at risk to hold back Russia, and that benefits us. At the end of the call, the imposter says, Thank you to my friend. It was nice to see you again. I remember our first meeting with Lord Haig and Bernard and Lily V. A Foreign Office spokesperson said, As you know, we made public the fact that this call happened weeks ago to do the right thing and make sure others were warned of the risk at the earliest opportunity. The Foreign Secretary understood that this was a private call with a Ukrainian politician. This is clearly Russian and is standard practice for information operations. This information is a tactic straight from the Kremlin playbook to try to distract from the illegal activities in Ukraine and the human rights abuses being committed there. So, even though it was a hoax call, I think what Cameron said is what he believes. And it's, well, I think they're just trying to keep their bases safe by assuming that they need to talk to Trump because he might be elected again. Not that they think he is being elected again, because if he is, I don't know. Wow. That's all I could say. If Trump is elected again, that's all I could be. Wow.
Wow.
We really are just failing humanity, aren't we? But I think they're just making sure their bases are clear. They don't have to do diplomacy later after an election. They can just do the pre-diplomacy in a way. But we'll see what happens in November for that. And I guess we'll also be waiting for this NATO summit, trying to keep on pushing America to just let them join. Please. Your story.
So he got catfished, former Prime Minister. British sure have a lot of former Prime Ministers. I just was looking.
Yeah, it's because they don't really elect them. They just put them on top of the party. So.
It's like David Cameron this week. That's Gordon Brown. Remember Gordon Brown? I forgot he even was. Anyway.
There's been like 5 prime ministers since Brexit, so all conservative.
Yeah, well, even before that, they were just ripping them off one after the other.
It's because they don't elect them. They don't elect.
I know what the system is, man. I'm just saying they just don't have a coherentness. All right, in South America, this is from CBSNews.com. Bolivian army leader arrested after apparent coup attempt. This is nobody's name on it. La Paz, Bolivia, led by a top general vowing to restore democracy, armored vehicles rammed the doors of Bolivia's government palace Wednesday in what the president called a coup attempt and quickly retreated. The latest crisis in a South American country facing political battle and an economic crisis. See, we think we got it bad in the United States. We don't. It's ridiculous that we think that. Within hours, the nation of 12 million people saw a rapidly moving scenario. Sorry, I had a piece of hair in my mouth. Within hours, the nation of 12 million people saw a rapidly moving scenario in which the troops seemed to take control of the government of President Louis Aker. He vowed to stand firm and named a new army commander who immediately ordered the troops to stand down. Soon the soldiers pulled back along with a line of military vehicles, ending the rebellion after just 3 hours. Hundreds of Aker supporters then rushed the square outside the palace, waving Bolivian flags singing the national anthem and cheering. The soldiers' retreat was followed by the arrest of Army Chief General Juan Jose Zoninga after the Attorney General opened the investigation. Government Minister Eduardo D. Castillo said in addition to Zoninga, the former Vice Admiral Juan Arnez Salvador was taken into custody. What was this group's goal? The goal was to overturn the democratically elected authority, Del Castillo told journalists in announcing the arrest. Late Wednesday, Defense Minister Edmundo Novillo said everything is now under control, surrounded by the new military chiefs appointed by Acre. Novillo and Bolivia saw a failed coup. The apparent coup attempt came with the country having faced months of tensions and political fights between Acre and his one-time ally, former leftist president Evo Morales, over control of the ruling party. It also came amid a severe economic crisis. Clashes have paralyzed the government's effort to deal with the economic crisis. For example, Morales' allies in Congress have consistently thwarted Acre's attempts to take on debt to relieve some of the pressure. Zoninga referenced that paralysis during the rebellion, telling the reporters the military was tired of the infighting and was seeking to restore democracy. We are listening to the city of people because for many years the elite has taken control of this country, he said, adding that politicians are destroying the country. Look at the situation we are in, what crisis they have left us in. Oh, you don't have any answers. You're just going to take over and say, I'm in charge. Yeah, you're an idiot. The armed forces intended to restore democracy to make it a true democracy. Oh, okay. That's not how it works there, morons. You have an election. If you don't if you don't like the election, you wait till the next election. Sorry, you should have voted. You should get more people behind you. Not, oh no, we don't like inflation. Let's overthrow the government. Ugh. Well, at least they're stable, and it appears that their president, no matter who he is or what his politics are, he was elected. So just, I don't know. Deal with it, man. You know, being more engaged. I don't know what to tell you. Well, that's over with for now. Also in political news, contenders quit race ahead of Iran's presidential poll as campaigning ends. This is from AlJazeera.com. Two candidates in Iran's presidential election have withdrawn from the race as campaigning ended a day ahead of the vote. So you withdraw before the vote, 1 day before. That's weird. Alireza Zakani, the mayor of the capital of Tehran, said on Tuesday that it was backing away on a post on social media. The first to do so was Amir Hossein Ghazizadeh Hashemi, 53, who hopefully has a shorter name people call him by, who dropped his candidacy on Wednesday night and urged other candidates to do the same so that the front of the revolution will be strengthened. Okay, so it's not really an election. The snap election will be held on Friday following the death of President Ebrahim Raisi in a helicopter crash in May. The next presidential vote was scheduled for 2025. Hashemi served as one of Raisi's vice presidents. He ran in the 2021 presidential election and received less than 1 million votes, coming in last place. Well, 1 million votes doesn't seem like it would be last place. Oh, I get didn't have write-ins? Can't write in people. Anyway, there's the news from political unrest to, Iran picking a new puppet for their, religious Islamic totalitarian regime. Yay. Pretending to have an election in Iran.
Yeah, well, they have to replace the guy who fell out of the helicopter or in the helicopter crash somehow.
Yeah, they had to replace.
But unexpected.
Oh. Yeah. I heard a really good name for Twitter yesterday. It was like, it was one of these old guy dismissive. Yeah. It was a baseball manager at the Brewers. Somebody asked him about the fans on social media, blah, blah, blah. He said, I don't pay attention to the fans on Twizzler. Call them Twizzler. I love it. Twizzler. It's my favorite name for Twitter now. Anyway.
I don't care about the people on Twizzler. Okay.
Yeah, there's a bunch of licorice eating morons.
Well, we're talking about, anyway. Government upheaval and corrupt governments. Of course, let's talk about Kenya. Now, this has been happening, I think, for weeks now, probably months. Maybe this article even detailed the exact start and end of this entire conflict. But basically what happened is Kenya's leader wants to increase the taxes. And everyone's like, with what money? So they started protesting and it got violent and some people were killed. This is on Al Jazeera with Shola Lawal as the reporter. Kenya's President William Ruto on Wednesday, which is the 26th of June, rolled back controversial tax reforms that he had championed in the face of public opposition after mass protests turned violent a day earlier on the 25th of June, leaving 23 people dead, according to Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. The people have spoken, Ruto said in a press conference at around 4:30 p.m. local time, 1 p.m. GMT, barely 24 hours before protesters vowed again to take the streets. I concede. The admission of defeat was rare for a politician known not to backtrack, and was a sharp about-turn from his speech less than a day earlier, when, after the violence, he had adopted a firm, almost threatening posture towards protesters. Well, they definitely were threatened. 23 people died. He had accused treasonous individuals of attempting to undermine security and stability. The president had also deployed the military against protesters, an unusually high-handed move, experts said. Reversal in Ruto's position on the 26th has led to questions about what changed his mind, said analysts, even as a cloud hangs over his credibility 2 years after he came to power, promising a break from corruption and misgovernance. I don't believe it is genuine. I think he's just buying time. Willius Okumo, a senior researcher with the Pan-African think tank Institute for Security Studies, ISS, told Al Jazeera, I think he has been advised that this is politically damaging and most likely Western pressure has played a role. He needed to steady the ship after messing up. Ruto's tough on security messaging in his 25th June speech drew criticism from the Kenyan National Commission on Human Rights, which called it insensitive and insightful and claimed it fueled the likings of people in the suburb of Nairobi, hours after the protesters had been dispersed through police firing. Experts said also that the statement signaled Ruto's disconnect from the Kenya population. It underscored the image Ruto had long had in Kenya as someone who is inflexible, who has enjoyed legitimacy from the West, particularly in the United States, despite a long history of alleged involvement in electoral violence. Some of those allegations led the International Criminal Court to probe Ruto on charges of crimes against humanity. Those charges were dropped in 2016 for a lack of evidence. For those of us who have known him for a long time, we know Ruto to be a leader who is a hardliner, Okumo of the ISS said. We've always been surprised that the West has embraced him. They know who he is, but because he is a spearheading Western interest, they look away. Yeah, I feel like it's probably a lose-lose situation here. Can we at least try to get him on our side, even if he's a complete bastard kind of thing? Since his election in 2022, Ruto has drawn close to Western powers, positioning himself as a progressive on climate change and refusing to join most African nations in their outright condemnation of Israel over the war on Gaza, instead professing a more neutral position. To the US in particular, Ruto has emerged as the most valuable East African leader to back, one whose loyalty is deserving of support in a region where Washington's relation with President Yoweri Museveni of Uganda and President Paul Kagame of Rwanda are tense. On Tuesday, which was the 25th of June, a Kenyan police team leading a United Nations-backed mission touched down in the troubled Haiti after Ruto dogged pursuit of one-of-a-kind deal for an African country. That mission is largely backed and funded by the U.S. Earlier in May, U.S. President Joe Biden feted Ruto and First Lady Rachel Ruto in a lavish state dinner, a first for an African leader in 16 years. Biden then bestowed on Kenya the title of a non-major NATO ally, a major move expected to enhance an already tight security cooperation with Nairobi. The U.S. formally incorporated that designation on the 24th of June on Monday. But at home, Ruto has increasingly faced criticism, culminating in the mass protests that have rocked Kenya over the past 10 days. Anger at the president's tax collection strategies has long been simmering, especially among young Kenyans. Ruto has a new nickname, Zakayo, a reference to the corrupt biblical Zacchaeus, the chief tax collector of Jericho. Many accuse Ruto of failing to deliver in election promises to root out graft. Indeed, during his campaign for office, the former president painted himself as an outsider to the power matrix that had long been mainstay of Kenyan politics, where a handful of politically influential families controlled power. He claimed to be a hustler and promised to ease tough living conditions for low earners by cracking down on ingrained corruption that has weakened Kenya's institutions. He also promised to reform a police force long criticized for brutality, limit government waste, and free the country of its huge $82 billion debt. However, Ruto's detractors say he has not delivered on those claims. What has irked many, in particular, they say, are the frequent hikes in taxes with no corresponding improvements in social amenities. That's very important. We're increasing the tax to help support the people who need support. No, actually, that money's just going to my next helicopter. Like, where is that money going? Already, a 2023 law doubled taxes on fuel, and the initial draft of this year's finance bill was set to further raise the fuel tax. You know what? Just don't go anywhere. Just stay in your house and, you have a job where you deliver stuff? Sorry, you have to pay taxes. All this comes amid a bitter economic crisis that has seen the value of the Kenyan shilling drop by 22% against the US dollar since 2022, causing food, transport, and energy prices to soar, while incomes have largely stayed the same. Ruto initially justified the tax increases, saying they were necessary for Kenya's debts. His government took office amid a punishing drought in 2022 after the Russian-Ukraine war disrupted food imports. It is instructive that for every 100 shilling we collect tax, we pay 61 shillings for debt, Ruto said on the 26th of June on Wednesday, justifying why he had backed the tax reforms. However, critics have long said massive waste in public spending could offset the debts. Ruto is widely seen in Kenya as a jet setter. Critics call him the flying president. While that travel has earned him some brickbats, he has argued his overseas visits are needed to draw investment to cash-strapped countries. Why don't you just fly commercial then instead of, I don't know, in a private jet? Detractors also accuse the president of pandering the West-led institutions like the International Monetary Fund. The IMF backed Nairobi on the now rejected tax reforms as part of a loan facility it said was necessary to preserve debt sustainability. In April, the IMF said there was a significant shortfall in tax collection that would keep Kenya's domestic borrowing needs up, although it also stressed the need to cut government waste. So, did Western pressure force Ruto's hand? The anti-tax protests, which initially began in 2023 after the first tax hike, signify a major shift in a Kenya where previously most people accepted the inadequacies of the government, experts said. The reason why there are so many young people in the streets is that they say things as they see it, said Najala Nayobola, a political researcher and writer. Older Kenyans are used to the gap that exists between the politicians and promise what they deliver. But young people will not have it. As the protests escalated last week, Ruto at first attempted to strike a cooperative tone, stating the government's respect for the right to protest. On Tuesday, the 20th, I keep on forgetting the date, man. The 26th, however, after police opened fire on protesters, the image he sought to present appeared to be unraveling with Kenya's Western allies. We note that Kenya's constitution guarantees the right to peaceful protest. A joint statement from the embassies at the US, United Kingdom, Germany, and several other Western countries said, "We regret the tragic loss of life and injuries sustained, including the use of live gunfire, and are deeply concerned by allegations of abductions of protesters." That reaction, experts said, appears to have pressured Ruto's government to act with more restraint and likely led to his softening tone on Wednesday, where he called the protesters our sons and daughters. In addition to rollback, Ruto has announced cuts across government spending on traveling and hospitality. Still, some analysts said they have little faith that Ruto will follow through on his promises. I don't think he will implement them, Willis of the ISS said. He has been president for 2 years and he has delivered zero of what he promised. Welcome to America's government. And despite the rollback, it won't be easy for Ruto to resurrect his credibility before the Kenyan people, said Nyabola, the political writer. Ruto's new stance definitely responds to many of the grievances that protesters raise, but unfortunately, he's burned through a lot of legitimacy, he said. So there is your news and update and all the information you need to know about what's going on in Kenya. Keep your eyes on Kenya and let's see if Ruto actually does something he promised in his reforms other than paying debts by making the people who probably didn't incur those debts, right? Nothing I hate more than governments giving themselves debt and then saying, you guys have to pay for it though. Well, you didn't ask us to take out a loan. Yeah. Where was the vote for, should Kenya take out a $82 billion loan? Yeah, well, I didn't get to vote for that. Why the hell do I have to pay for it? I can't even and he's taxing fuels explicitly, which is just like, okay, I just won't go anywhere. I guess I'll just open a farm because I don't know, even if you open a farm, how you're supposed to transport your goods? You have to pay taxes on your fuel. So I can see why people are angry about it, basically.
Yeah. All you people with no money, give us your money.
Yeah. Good luck getting that money, dude. Yeah.
They're living by the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules. Yep. And today's Thursday 13, if I'm on camera yet. Thursday's 13, which is, well, recently we covered the poor voter turnout in some states, and I did attribute a lot of it to they have a high Native American population, and they're just totally discouraged from voting. Yeah. So, I mean, who has the most Native Americans in their state? In the United States, what state would you guess has not the highest percentage, but the most? What state would you think has the most Native Americans in it?
Arizona is my first guess.
Not a bad guess, but the guess would be the state with most people, California. California has the most people, also has California. Yes. They have 600,000 Native Americans
These are the people that are supposed to be dead, by the way, and long gone. Because there's plenty of Americans out there who genuinely believe there's no Native Americans. They've been killed. So.
That's one of those things I had to be shocked into thinking, because I grew up 5 miles from a reservation myself.
Yeah, exactly.
So there were plenty of Native Americans when I was a kid.
There's plenty of Native Americans in New York City, for example, as well.
And I grew up in Wisconsin, which is where is Wisconsin on this list? Wisconsin is even in the top 50. It's down there, really? Oh, I'm looking at the overall list. I know it's not in the top 13. That's a dead giveaway right away. Let's see. Wisconsin is right after Michigan, 18th. So they're not that low. California has 39 million people and 631,000 Native Americans, just to tell you. The percentage is very low, but the population is quite high. Number 2 on our list, as I stop clicking and look at my camera instead. I don't have to look anymore. I do research while I'm doing this. Number 2 is Oklahoma. No surprise there. Oklahoma actually was fenced off, started out as an Indian reservation back in the 1800s before the Sooners came and said, hey, get off our dusty land.
And the white people still couldn't let us have it, you know? They still had to take it away.
And still the majority of Oklahoma to this day is a Indian reservation. Arizona, with your guess, not a bad guess. Yeah. It's a pretty high population of people in Arizona these days too. Driven by, of course, retirements. retired people go there to drive up that
for why it
population
was Arizona is because they had the largest, I think, the last election, they had the largest amount of natives voting, which means they actually turned the state from red to blue, just from the...
Way to go. Hear that, North Dakota, South Dakota? Hear that?
Yeah, of course, of course.
Texas has the 4th highest native population when you consider the fact that Texas, once upon a time, tried to run all the Apaches out of the state or kill them. And they basically succeeded, except for one little corner of Texas. And number 5 on our list is New Mexico. Not really a surprise that a large portion of our population is Native American. That's probably the lowest population state on this list. Well, Oklahoma doesn't have a big population either. I mean, lowest overall population.
Yeah.
Number 6, New York, our first northeastern state checks in. New York, a very big Seneca tribe there, among other tribes. Number 7, this one caught me by surprise, North Carolina. Now, we thought the Trail of Tears...
Oh, wow.
We thought the Trail of Tears emptied out all of the southeast of all the Indians, but North Carolina is number 7 in total native population.
What is the tribes that live in North Carolina?
Probably Cherokee, or you can look it up.
Cherokee.
Oh, well, the Cherokees all moved from the southeast, so I'm just guessing. Cherokee, Pawnee... Number 8 is Washington. If you know anything about the Washington, you know there's a huge native population there.
There is the Eastern Band of Cherokee. That's definitely one of them in North Carolina. And then a bunch of smaller tribes that you've probably never heard of, like the Quarry, Lumbee, Alawa, Saponi, Merowin, Occaneechi Band of the Saponi Nation, and the Waccamaw Sawan. So there you go. There's a bunch of tribes in there, but Cherokee for sure. Everyone's heard of them.
What's the name of the South? What's the name of the Washington tribe? I forgot what it was.
The Washington?
Washington State.
Yeah, Washington State.
I used to know. It just slipped. I want to say it's the Cree, but I might be wrong. Alaska, number 9. With, of course, the, as they call themselves, what is the Alaskan tribe now? It's called the Aleutians, no? Aleutian tribes? Well, anyway, Alaska, one of the lowest population state, has a high native population. I got you doing most of the things at once.
Inuits?
Yeah, Inuits, there you go. Inuits. Illinois, number 10. They're famously named after the Illini tribe, Illinois. So that's an Indian state. It's got a large population, and so although it's probably not a big...
a million tribes in Washington, dude.
Ah, gotcha.
I guess the biggest reservations are the Colville, the Yakama, and the Quinault. So those are the biggest reservations. And the Spokane.
There's a lot of tribes. There's a lot of tribes I don't know about. Spokane, the city of Spokane, probably is named after that. Illinois, we covered, is a large population state, which has, not a large population of American Indians as a percentage, but enough to make number 10 on the list, as Florida. Florida, famously the Seminole state. That was their famous Indian tribe, the Seminoles.
Yep.
Florida's at number 11, another large population state. A low population state, South Dakota. South Dakota, that's right, when their governor's not shooting dogs. She's alienating all the...
famous for having protests against huge oil pipes going through their land, of course.
Yeah, and banning the governor, or is it North Dakota? I think there should just be one state, or there shouldn't be a state at all, just give it back to the natives. But if you're going to have Dakotas, just make one Dakota. There's not enough people in there to make 2 states. Come on, man. And I don't apologize for that point of view. Nobody lives there. I've been there. Nobody lives there, man. Outside the cities, you go out there's nobody there. And I should say, in the reservation. And the reservations are banning the governor. And number 13, not really surprised, is Colorado, but I'm kind of surprised it's that low. I'm surprised it's 13th and not higher.
I
But
thought it would have more because
have,
the thing with Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona, and also Nevada, is that those were the four corners of different tribes. They would all be there, right?
No. Utah is not on this list, surprisingly enough. Not in the top 13
neither
anyway.
Is Nevada as well, but who wants to live in Nevada?
Yeah. Well, no, Nevada's not in the four corners. The four corners is Utah, Colorado, New Mexico. And
is it? Oh, sorry, my bad.
It's Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, Colorado. Like
okay.
That. Or if you're looking in a mirror the other way.
Yeah, if you look at the,
anyway.
But that's the four corners, like like I think the big tribes were like there's four big tribes that ran around those corners all the time. So that's where I'm from. So that's all I know about is that the region.
Right. I would just think Colorado would have a higher population of natives than New Mexico, because it's got more people.
Yeah.
And those are the states, if you drive west, you just pull off the road and you can just buy all kinds of Indian jewelry at any old truck stop. Those are oh, by the way, I sent you a video.
Oh.
Yeah, it's about 3 minutes long. I don't know if I want to start it at the beginning.
Okay.
Okay. And those are your list for today on Thursday's 13. Back to you.
Okay. My final story is going to be short. I know I had two long stories, so I decided to do a short one for the culture news, but it's an update on Matthew Perry's death, which I didn't even know this was even possible, but there might be people who are liable for his death and could be charged. This is by David Morquand on Euronews. Multiple people could be charged in connection to Friends star Matthew Perry's death, according to a recent update. The actor died on the 28th of October. Wow, it's been that long already. I thought it was way earlier. On 2023 at the age of 54, too young to go, from the acute effects of ketamine, which causes the actor to drown in his Los Angeles mansion's hot tub. His autopsy report from the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Office also listed coronary artery disease and the opioid buprenorphine as contributing factors. There must be like an actual, what is that? It's like a generic word for that. Sold under the name Subutex, among others. It's an opioid for acute pain. So Subutex. Took some Subutex,
mixing
took some ketamine, and then drowned in his hot tub. Honestly, he probably died of heat stroke in his hot tub. That's what you need to worry about when you're in a hot tub, is not drowning. The coroner closed its investigation into his death in December. However, in May, the LAPD launched a criminal investigation to better understand the circumstances surrounding his death. Now, People magazine reports that the investigation is nearing its conclusion and that law enforcement officials believe multiple people could be charged. The magazine source said the U.S. Attorney's Office will make the ultimate decision on whether or not to press charges. At the time of his death, the actor was receiving ketamine infusion therapy, which is said to help with depression and anxiety. Yeah, by basically you sitting there not feeling a thing. Wow, I just don't exist. The coroner noted that I once was having a discussion with my classmates in Amsterdam about what drugs we would all take if we were gonna die. And of course, a lot of people said they take heroin because if you're gonna die, you won't be addicted to it because you'll be dead. And then I was like, I have no idea what drug I would take. And they said, you should take ketamine. If you think too much, it's great for not thinking. You just lay there like a dead sack of potatoes. So, yeah, if you have depression, anxiety.
Is that why Elon Musk likes it so much?
Yeah, I guess so. Unfortunately, Matthew's system could not be from the infusion Perry since ketamine's half-life is 3 to 4 hours or less. So it wears off in 3 to 4 hours. Authorities are looking for the person who might have supplied a secondary source of the drug and whether Perry received narcotics in the mail, according to TMZ. Perry suffered from addictions to drugs and alcohol for the majority of his life, with the actor saying in 2022 memoir Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing that he spent $9 million on his quest for sobriety and entered rehab a total of 15 times. By 2021, he said that he had overcome his addiction. So, sadly, you still are painted by the shadow of addiction. And once you're known as an addict, people will assume you're an addict for the rest of your life, or in this case, the rest of your death, because
they overprescribe you.
Yeah.
They overprescribe. Oh, it must be a chemical imbalance. Let's play Frankenstein with this.
Well, the argument here is that maybe he was buying ketamine somewhere else to get more.
Right.
So he was doing the therapy, but then after it wore off, he would put more in his system, and then he got in his hot tub and then drowned. I guess is the argument here, is what happened. So.
Well, what might be similar to what happened to Whitney Houston.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, addictions come from your mental health a lot of the times, and we're trying really hard, especially now in these days, to improve everyone's mental health. But, you know, for some people it's coming too late or not fast enough. And, especially men. Men are not allowed to have emotions, or a lot of them feel, because of toxic masculinity. No.
Well, you have lots of people that are overprescribed medicine and then they get depressed, like Chris Cornell or anybody else that committed suicide, and like, we didn't see that coming. Well, they weren't thinking right because they got prescribed a bunch of stuff that caused a chemical imbalance in their brain, and they were like, every depression was hard to overcome. It just seemed like something they couldn't deal with at all.
Robin Williams,
and I don't even know.
Was also famously bipolar. So.
Yeah, and who knows what he was medicated with. I'm sure there was an autopsy, but to me, an autopsy is kind of too late. You haven't solved the problem. It's like, okay, well, now we know the problem. Okay, you knew it before, but you just chose to go, oh yeah, we'll medicate our way out of it. United States, like maybe that song Weezer, "We're All on Drugs" is the most accurate statement about the United States. We are all on drugs. It ain't about weed, and it ain't about heroin. It's about everybody gets a medication that's supposed to fix what's wrong with them. And the pharmaceuticals are running to the bank going, yeah, we came up with a disease that nobody has, and then put a commercial out to sell our drug that nobody needs. Like, what is it, Ozempic or whatever, and they found out it's a weight loss drug.
It was originally, I think it was originally for diabetes, and it actually still is for diabetes.
I thought it was for skin diseases.
No. Was it?
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, either way, it's actually for a disease, but because it was found to help people lose weight, it's now really expensive. It's a designer drug, and people who actually need it for a disease can't get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Screw the side effects. I got to lose 9 pounds by Thursday to fit in this dress or whatever, this tuxedo or whatever. You know, people are so vain. It's just mind-numbingly stupid.
Yeah, I can't relate. I'm not even trying to lose weight.
I don't understand vanity, because humans are just on the whole, humans are pretty ugly compared to other animals, right? You wouldn't be a human, would you? No, I don't think you would. If you wanted for pretty, no, you wouldn't. You'd be like a peacock or something. All right, this day in history. In 1787, British historian Edward Gibbon completed the history and decline and fall of the Roman Empire. Oh, I would get a copy of that. I don't know how it ends. 1844 in this... What?
Is it a good book?
Oh, is that the one, Nero fiddling while Rome burned? Is that one? Is that the one?
That happens, yeah.
Okay. 1844 in this day, Joseph Smith, founder of the Mormon Church, was murdered by an armed mob in Carthage, Illinois. And
somehow he still has a cultish religion. I wonder why he was killed by a mob.
Well, because they didn't like his heretic religion. That's why. And he had 8 wives or something like that. He had a lot of wives.
Cult leader,
it was, it was a bigamous cult, or a polygamous cult.
I mean,
and they murdered him, and they left Illinois with their leader Brigham Young and ended up in Utah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying, speaking of like people being on drugs, that guy was definitely on drugs.
Oh yeah, he was. He lived in, I think it was in Pennsylvania or something. He inhaled some natural gas coming out of the land or something. And started.
Oh God!
Wrote an entire book, the Book of Mormon. Transcribed it from some mythical beasts told in these stories. Hey, man, you can start a religion. No better, no worse than any other religion. I mean, I don't know. I mean, religions to me are just, we got to control some people. How can we do it? 1846, Charles Stewart Parnell, Irish nationalist and leader in the struggle for Irish Home Rule, was born in Avondale, County Wicklow. That obviously is in Ireland. In 1862, on this day during the Civil War, the first Battle of Cold Harbor in the American Civil War, Confederate General Robert E. Lee attacked Union troops, driving them back in disorder and forcing them to withdraw to the south side of the Chickahominy River. Chickahominy, huh? That was the first Battle of Cold Harbor. They got a rematch later. In 1917, on this day, during World War I, Greece declared war on the Central Powers. Way to go, Greece. A little late, but you know. United States was even later. 1930, American businessman and philanthropist Ross Perot, who was an independent candidate for U.S. president in 92 and 96, was born. Happy birthday to Ross Perot. He would be 94 today. 1977, Djibouti gained its independence from France. Djibouti. That's a great name for a country, anyway. I always liked Djibouti in the Olympics because they there's Djibouti flag, and the announcers always giggle to themselves. Oh, he said booty. 2007 on this day. We were talking about this earlier. British Labour leader. After having served as Chancellor for the Exchequer, whatever that is, British Labour Party politician Gordon Brown became Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. So, you know, Gordon Brown was the last Labour. He was after Tony Blair, so he was the last Labour leader. Okay, and other news on this day. Featured event 1871, yen was made the official monetary unit of Japan. First minted in 1869, the yen was adopted as Japan's official monetary unit on this day in 1871 when the government suspended the exchange of clan notes, money issued by feudal lords that had circulated since the 16th century. So, Japan got its own official currency on this day in 1871. Our featured biography, it's Jack Lemmon's birthday. Jack Lemmon, born not his birthday, it's the day he died, sorry. Featured biography, Jack Lemmon, actor, born February 8th, 1925, Newton, Massachusetts, died June 27th, 2001 at Los Angeles, California. One of my favorite actors. He had a lot of good movies. Some Like It Hot, Grumpy Old Men, 1 and 2. Here's a good one. Glengarry Glen Ross. Yeah, he was in that. He was really good in that. He was always the guy. Always going for those names. Glengarry Glen Ross. Other than them underrated movies, Alec Baldwin, Kevin Spacey, a bunch of other guys. Emma Goldman's birthday today, American anarchist, born in 1869. It's Helen Keller's birthday, born in 1880, American author and educator, also known for being blind and deaf. If you haven't heard of Helen Keller, she overcame that to become an American author and educator. 1927 was the birthday of Bob Keeshan, also known as Captain Kangaroo, American television producer and entertainer, who erroneously, I was told my entire Marine Corps career, did you know Captain Kangaroo was at Normandy and he was a Marine and he did all this stuff and blah, 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 blah. And he was at, Iwo Jima, that's what he's supposedly at. But no, Bob Keeshan was never in. He was in the Marines, but he was never in war. So he wasn't a captain either. He was not a kangaroo, interestingly enough. Anyway, 1930, Ross Perot, we already covered that. J.J. Abrams, American writer, director, and producer, born in 1966. And what day is it today? It's a few things today. Quite a few. Thursday is popular. It's National Orange Blossom Day. Orange blossoms are, I don't know why in the middle of June they'd be blossoming. I would think the oranges would be thick on the tree by now. National Bomb Pop Day. You know, the little bomb pops that you get at the ice cream truck? These ones are red, white, and blue. You can just push bomb pop. Okay. National HIV Testing Day, which HIV has been not a really big deal ever since we got treatment drugs. National PTSD awareness, post-traumatic stress disorder. Lots of people out there are going through a lot of crap you don't understand, and if they're, you know, quiet and to themselves, you know, give them some time, give them some space. They have some unpleasant shit they're working through. National Handshake Day. I don't know if we could, since COVID, I don't know, the handshake's kind of gone the way of, you know, the LP record. People do fist bumps these days because we don't want to spread disease. That guy just scratched his butt. I don't want to shake his hand. National Sunglasses Day. National Sunglasses
Save your eyes
Day.
from that UV radiation.
Oh yeah, she's going to be bright today. And it's National Onion Day. I'm going to have some onion later. And it's National Ice Cream Cake Day. Do not put onion on your ice cream cake. Those are a bad combination. You can like them both, but just not at the same time. Although try it. I don't know. It might be good. It might be just the thing that sets you off.
I don't know.
Those are your days, your birthdays, your historical events, your hysterical events, your bad jokes and everything. From June 27th, 2024 on Before Orange Blossoms.
All right.
How about before ice cream cake? That's better.
Yeah, that's better.
Before ice cream cake. There you go. All right.
Well, this has been Allison here from the Netherlands. Reminder, HIV may be gone in the West, but it's still very rampant in Africa. So still, you need to protect yourselves and protect your loved ones and get tested so that you know if you have it or if your friends have it, and then we can now cure it, I think. It's very treatable these days. It's not a death sentence, but HIV is still out there. And
well, here, best way to get tested. Best way to get tested is donate blood.
Yeah, then they'll test it for you. We will see you tomorrow for Friday's news dump. We're going to finish off this week with all the news we haven't and will want to talk about on Friday. So if there are any news stories that you think we should have talked about this week, please comment down below or message us on Discord or anywhere to let us know, hey, you didn't talk about this and I want you to talk about it. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and here is our mic drop moment.
In this room sits a remarkable woman. She is Miss Helen Keller. She does not see the room or the book that she's reading. She sees nothing.
She looks pretty good. I mean, she
Does
can't
not hear
see
the
herself,
writing of the
but
curtains
whoever
behind
dresses
her.
her made her look good.
She hears nothing. She is deaf and blind.
Can't see
But if you
and
enter
can't
her
hear
room, she will know.
from birth.
Yeah.
Your lightest footfall will tell her you are coming. It will even tell her who you are, if she knows you, as she knows her old friend, Polly Thompson. Polly has been with Helen Keller for years.
Signing.
For nearly
She's
half
signing
of
in her
the
hand so
years,
she
Helen's
can
only companion. Helen's
know what
eyes
she's
and
saying.
ears upon the world.
by signing in her hand.
She talks with Helen by a finger system in which each letter has a sign, like this. In reaching out beyond her dark and soundless night, Helen depends most on...
Oh no.
Human ingenuity.
Two other senses remain to her. There's taste and there is smell. Scent, the scent of objects and places and people, tells Helen much that we learn with eyes and ears. But her hand is her chief link with the outer world, with Polly, with Anne, the
She feels the words you're speaking.
Yeah.
With her hand, she reads Anne's lips.
Speaking of COVID, real quick, let me just put my fingers in your mouth.
Natural voice. It is her great sorrow. For all her years of effort, Helen has never learned to speak clearly. This isn't strange, for since she was a baby, she's not heard a word spoken, nor seen lips forming one.
But this is why nobody has an excuse, right? Oh, we should not do this. It's too hard. It's like, well, if people want to live how they are born, just let them.
It is not blindness or deafness that bring me my darkest hours.
It is the attitude that I put meant in not being able.
She has a British accent, strangely enough.
It is the acute disappointment in not being able to speak normally.
Still talks better than a lot of people I know.
What does that say about the people you know?
Well, that they don't know the proper words to use.
I could have done if I had acquired normal speech.
But within this sorrowful experience, I understand wonderfully.
But out of this sorrowful experience, I understand more fully all human strivings, thwarted ambitions.
I wonder if she had the same carer the whole time, or they like had different carers, right? Like,
well, her first was.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.